Hey guys, welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter card game review. Today's game we have up on the table is a game by Baksha Games, and it is called Good Help, the card game. Now, Good Help, the card game is roughly based off of its original predecessor, Good Help, the game, but this one is for 2 to 6 players, about a half an hour to an hour to play, and in my estimation, maybe 10 or 11 to be able to understand how to play the game correctly. And in Good Help, the card game, it's fairly simple. You need good help, and good help is hard to find. You play as a mad scientist, like Dr. Frankenstein, and your objective is to create a monster to terrorize and destroy the town or your fellow scientists. And as well as not only trying to create your monster with your doctor, you also have 2 assistants, a male and a female assistant. Some of them are Igor and, of course, Igor, Svetlana, Oleg, Pasha, and tons of other assistants you've probably ever heard from older monster movies. But anyway, once you get all your body parts needed and all your accessories acquired from the town while trying to accost your friends or not-so-friendly scientists, other assistants, as well as bringing your body parts back to your castle, you're then going to create your monster. And by doing so, you're going to have all these certain pieces and everybody along for the ride, as well as paying everybody off, bribing them from getting the body parts, or bribing the assistants to complete the monster. And then you create the monster, send it off into town, and he tries to destroy the entire town or destroy all of your opponent's monsters, whatever comes first. And if you can do that, you win the game. Alright, let's go ahead and check out the game. Alright guys, so here we have Good Help, the card game, all set up. Now the first thing you need to do for the game, which seems a little daunting, but you take all the location cards, which are represented by hospitals, graveyards, zoo, morgue, university, and you shuffle them all up, all 7 of them, and you place them down just like this. Afterwards, you go ahead and choose a en route card for each player and a castle card, and you choose their color, of course. And then you choose a scientist for each and every single player. And then after that, you go ahead and get their science character cards, their scientist cards, and you place them here, and they all have different abilities. Give everybody 10 gold to start with, and then have each scientist get a male assistant and a female assistant. And they all do different things, and they come over here in these different kinds of cards. And they have different abilities and different stuff. We'll talk about that later. But after you go ahead and get a male and female assistant, you take those and you place them on the castle. So you should technically have 3 figures on each of the castle pieces. After you've gone ahead and done that, the most important thing to do is set up the graveyard, the zoo, the morgue, and the market. The market you set up with supplies based on the number of players you need. So in a 3-player game, you need 3. In a 4-player game, so on and so forth. You also have to have the morgue, and they're going to have fresh body parts, a full fresh body. And the zoo's going to have a full fresh gorilla body. And then depending on the number of players, the graveyard's going to have different amounts of bodies as well. And you're going to shuffle up the different body torsos. So for instance here, well, let me see what we got. It's 2 full bodies, 2 brains, 2 torsos, and 2 limbs. You mix these guys all up without looking, and then you place 3 down on each location. So you wouldn't know what you're going to dig up. You might not get a full body in a single graveyard. After you got everything set up and the die is in place, you got money over here to the side, as well as a couple tokens and your reference cards, as well as the action deck set up anywhere. Then you're ready to go and play the game. So there's one other thing I forgot to mention, which is also important as well. There is that action deck which you set aside. Every player gets 2 cards from the action deck. And the action deck is going to contain cards like vices or action cards that increase your stats on your characters. And it's going to be important because you're going to be choosing different characters, and they're going to have different stat lines here. So some characters are going to have strength more than intellect or smarts, and it's going to be also a cost for each of those characters at the end of the game, as well as their vices and a vice number. Now vices are fairly simple. Each character has a certain thing that they like, and they can get caught while going en route. And that can be very detrimental to them, because if a player is very subjective to getting sausage, they really like sausage, I could play that on one of my opponent's assistants, and then they might be tasked with trying to ignore the vice and succeed by rolling a die higher than the number presented on their card. And if they can't do that, then they're going to drop an item, or they're going to drop a supply, or they're going to drop something, and they're going to not get to bring it to their castle, which is really bad. As well as not only deciding which of these your assistants all give different stats for different things, but you're also going to be using them to accost each other. And depending on their smarts or their strength is what you're going to decide on how you want to accost people, which can make them go back to their hospital or go back to their doctor, and they can lose items from that as well. So be careful which ones you choose. Finally, choosing the doctor as well. There's tons of different doctor abilities starts with 4 additional gold. Is Mr. Alexander. What's this guy? His advance in medicine enables 1 extra strength for the monster. And Dr. Mikhail, his female assistants can't be the target of a confrontation. Oh, that's really cool. And there's tons of other different abilities as well. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the first turn of play. Okay, so back to the board of Good Help. You actually can choose a first player based on the study courses in which the last person has taken. So whoever's been to university or a class last is going to the person who's going first. So let's just go ahead and say Dr. Nikolai is the person that had the last course in college. Now you resolve any cards on your assistants first, and then you choose any of these actions first or second. It doesn't matter how you resolve them. Each assistant may have 1 move and a single action, and each doctor may have a move and an action. And you can go ahead and move either the doctor first or the assistant first, but you have to move and then perform that action, and then you can move and perform that action, okay? Then afterwards, you drop to your hand limit of 2, and once you've completed your monsters, your doctor's assistants are no longer used, and so it would just be this guy here if you manage to acquire all the pieces. But we'll explain more about that later. All right, let me go ahead and talk to you about the actions for each of the different types of characters and how it works. All right, so like I said, you get assistants and doctors, and you can choose either one in either order to move and then perform an action. For doctors, it's fairly simple. Doctors' main actions are to give money to either one or both of their assistants, as well as to go and work. They can work at the university or they can work at the hospital, as well as they can make the monster when they're on their castle. Assistants, on the other hand, have quite a few other things they can do. They can take money from the doctor. They can dig up or buy different body parts from either the morgue or the graveyard. And if you're digging up from the morgue, you just simply flip it over for free and take it with you. Or if you're buying it from like the market, that's like a supply you can take as well for an action. You simply pay for its cost and take that as well. Another thing you can do is accost an assistant of somebody else's. And the only way you can accost somebody else's is if they are not with another assistant of their same team or the doctor is with them. So if they're by themselves, you can accost them, and that's simply rolling based on their strength or maybe their smarts, whatever you feel you're more comfortable with as accosting them. So your strength might be 3 and theirs might be 2. You roll a die and you add up the strength of that character, of your character, as well as the die, and if your roll and strength combined are more than their roll and their strength combined or smarts, then you will actually send them back to their doctor or the hospital, and they'll lose an item. The final thing you can do is take your supplies and or your body parts and return them to your castle where your doctor is trying to get all these pieces to make the monster. And those are the basic actions you can take. Let's go ahead and show you a couple turns of play. Alright, so first turn of play. We'll have this guy go first. He's going to go ahead and move. He actually will move his assistants first, and he's not going to choose to take any actions because he's on the en route space. And he will also move, and then he will give his assistants money. That's simple. He'll actually take his money off of his card and place them on his assistants' cards, where however he so chooses to place the money on them, so that they'll have their own separate money, so they can lose it or spend it how they would like by moving away. And so everybody is probably going to do that as well on their first turn, although there's other different variations they can take as well. And the money is going to be placed on different pieces, different characters. And then the next turn takes a more interesting turn because the en route means you can literally go anywhere you'd like. So maybe this assistant will go over here first and they will dig, and digging is simple. They just flip over, like I said before, and they can acquire this piece. It's for free, but it's not very good. It's not so fresh. It's from the graveyard. So they're going to get this piece after they return it to the graveyard, after they return it to their castle, if they can make it. And maybe they go over here and maybe he wants to buy something from the morgue, which is a little more fresh, so it costs a little more, but the strength is a little higher. And then the doctor might choose to go to the hospital and start working. And if he does that, he gets the number represented there. And so on and so forth. Players are going to keep moving and doing whatever they want to do, collecting these pieces, because they need one of every single piece of the puzzle, which is, you know, the limbs and the brain and the torso, as well as the supplies. And then they need everybody to get back to their castle, and the doctor needs to perform one more action, and they'll get their monster. Now let me show you a little bit about how costing works. It's simple. If maybe this is one of the assistants, right, Red, and we'll go ahead and let's see if we have something for him. What does he like? He likes beer. So let me find one of the things. So maybe somebody has beer. Here's beer. So maybe this character would have beer, right? He would walk over here. Well, you could then play the beer card. And on his stat card right here, you see beer is 3. So that player that owns this character will roll the 3. And he pulled it off. As long as he rolls, I believe, higher than that number, or that number, he's okay. However, if he didn't, then he would actually lose whatever items he was carrying, whether it be money or whatever. You would get to choose one of those options. That's basically how these guys work. There's also action cards in the game, like Smarts Potion, which if you're being accosted by another individual, like these two guys are clashing against each other, or actually two assistants, sorry, were clashing against each other, they would tally their smarts or their strengths. In this aspect, we would use smarts. If you would put it on one of your characters prior to attacking, and just like this here. And then you could use that smarts when you're accosting somebody else with your smarts, which would give her a 7, which is huge when fighting against somebody else. And you're always going to draw up to those 2 cards at the end of your turn, so there's no point in not using the cards. So afterwards, people are going to start making their way back and getting their monsters. Hopefully I did this somewhat right, maybe not, but you get the idea. You put your doctor with your assistants back. You have to pay off your assistants with whatever the value is on their card, which shows down here, the money symbol. And then you create your monster, and you get rid of all of these guys, and you simply get one of these guys, these monster figures here. And the monster does 2 things. He can move, and then afterwards he can attack another monster or blow up a space. So that turn he doesn't do much. But on the next one, he can go anywhere he wants, and he would go there and blow up the hospital. If he can blow up 4 of these places down here, he wins. However, if he's fighting against another monster, let's say that Yellow's monster was out here on here, and they would come onto each other, you would tally up all of the strength tokens that they have for that. Maybe this guy is a full gorilla monster, which maybe this wouldn't be the most appropriate. There's actually a full-on gorilla, which you would use here. Let me see if I can find him real quick. There he is. And maybe it would be this guy. If he was the full-on gorilla monster. Boop. And so it would show you tallying all the strength up, which is 7, 3, and 5, which is tons of strength. You'd roll your die, and if you had more strength than this guy, who might be the graveyard monster, which only has 2 strength here, maybe 3 or 4, really, really low, he would die. So you have that option, right, of making the bigger ones, strong ones, which cost more, or just getting the smaller guys. Either way, killing each other off. So if you kill off all your opponent's monsters, you win, or if you're able to kill off all of 4 of these locations, you win as well. Alright guys, so that's the idea of how to play Good Help. You get your characters, you put them all in your castle, you go across in the town, you get all the body parts you need, you get all the spare tape and stuff that you attach your monster together. You go back to the castle, you put it all together with your assistants, as long as they're not getting accosted or getting tempted while they're in the en route space, playing action cards, and doing what you can to make sure that you're the first person to get that monster out as high of a strength as you possibly can, and destroying 4 buildings or killing all of your opponent's monsters. And that's the idea of how to play Good Help, the card game. Alright, let me tell you what I think about it. Alright, so Good Help, the card game. What do I think about it? Well, first of all, let's talk about presentation. The cards, the art, the standees, all really, really nice. You can see the card out here. You've got the different vices, as well as the different action cards, as well as the different assistants and doctors. All very nice. Even you got thick chits for the money, and you got the the dice fine, as well as these little plastic stands. The only issue with them, obviously, is when you stick them onto the little thing here, it can do a little bit of damage on the bottom. But it is what it is. They might be introducing better quality for this kind of stuff, so it is prototype version of what I have. So who knows what's going to come out. Don't judge them too harshly on mine. As well as the components, quality, all that good. The replayability of the game is really nice because there's tons of different strategy in this game. You can go for the medium monster, you can go for the really quick and easy monster, you can go for the really big monster. Now obviously if you're going for the faster monster, you're going to be able to destroy the town a lot quicker. But if anybody makes any monster better than yours before you manage to destroy the entire town or all of the players, then they're going to be able to beat you. So it's that give and take where you have to go back and forth. A couple of the rules for the cards were a little confusing, and some of the doctor's abilities I didn't exactly get, but they're going to be fixed by the time the Kickstarter's out, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. For the most part, everything works very well and is very flowing and very easy to understand. The theme is really interesting too. You're a mad scientist and you're choosing your assistants, and there's so many assistants, and there's so many there's 6 doctors to choose from of the 6 players, but there's tons of assistants, over like 15 of them or something like that. And they all do different things. They all different amount of money it costs for them, amount of smarts and all that kind of stuff, as well as different vices. And they work really well with keeping the amount of replayability in the game, which is really entertaining as well because the game's all about the different types of, like Igor, who's really, not all that bright and stuff. And then you've got somebody like Broomhilda, who's this big, bashing, strong woman. And that's nice. It works well. It's that classic old horror theme where Frankenstein is making his monster, but you're all doing it all in this one town. So this poor town is in dire need of protecting their their dead bodies from being taken away. Fortunately, it doesn't really work for them in this game. The player base works. I suggest 4, 5, and 6 players. 2 and 3 is okay, but in 2 you're bashing heads a little too much. I think it's literally just back and forth, back and forth. Who can build their monster faster or screw over your opponent faster. And then you've got your 4, 5, and 6 players where it's just all-out war. You're doing as much as you can to build your monster as fast as you can, and all of your opponents are trying to stop you while they're trying to build their monsters. And everybody's trying to decide, oh, build fast, build slow, build strong, build smart. You don't know what's going on, which makes the game a ton of fun. The flow of the game works really well as well. Simply start your turn, do your actions for your doctor, and your move, and do your actions for your assistant, and your move, and then pass your turn. And go around in a circle until somebody gets that monster and blows up the town. But that's the idea of the game. Overall, this game is really fun, really enjoyable. If you like these kind of games where it's simply a movement action style game, all in a very nice and small box, plays really quickly, really easily, I would suggest you check it out. Good Help, the card game. Alright, that's it for this one. Alright guys, thanks for watching another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter card game review. If you like this video and like to see more, go ahead and check out the rest of our videos here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff you know. As well as checking out our website, unfilteredgamer.com, where we've got tons of board game giveaways, blog posts, Kickstarter lists, and more. Also, don't forget to go ahead and check out our sponsors at everythingboardgames.com and thegiveawaygeek.com. Don't forget, we've got 2 new giveaways coming out. One is already out now, Mr. Game. Go ahead and check it out on the site, as well as our next one, which is coming out, which is a secret. It's actually 3 books that involve RPGing, which, if you have an inkling for RPGs and getting free books like that, the Pathfinder-style books, not that, but something similar, just wait and check it out on the site. Alright guys, that's it for this one, and I look forward to seeing you next time.